She walked into her own bank with confidence, the kind that comes from building something powerful from nothing. But the moment she stepped inside, everything shifted. Eyes followed her. Whispers spread. And then, in front of her own employees, she was treated like she didn't belong, like she was invisible, or worse. No one knew who she really was. No one bothered to ask. What they did next wasn't just humiliating. It was something she would never forget. But what happened minutes later, no one in that bank was prepared for. How do you recover when the system you built turns against you? Her name was Maya Carter, a self-made powerhouse, who had spent years climbing a ladder that was never built for her in the first place. Long before the titles and success, she was just a young woman with a vision, working late nights, facing rejection after rejection, and proving over and over again that she belonged in rooms people like her were never invited into. Now she owned one of the fastest-growing financial institutions in the region. Every decision, every system, every polished corner of that bank carried her fingerprints. But despite everything she had built, Maya never forgot the subtle looks, the quiet doubts, the moments where people questioned her presence before her ability. That morning felt routine. A quick visit, a silent walkthrough, nothing unusual. She chose not to announce herself. No entourage, no recognition, just her, walking into the world she created. But the moment she stepped inside, something felt off. The energy shifted. Conversations paused. Eyes lingered just a second too long. And somewhere in that silence, a line was about to be crossed. At first it was subtle, a glance from the front desk. A pause that lasted just a second too long. Maya walked calmly across the marble floor, her heels echoing through a space she knew better than anyone. But today, it felt unfamiliar, almost hostile. She approached the counter, waiting patiently. The teller barely looked up. "Can I help you?" The tone was flat, dismissive. Maya offered a small, polite nod. She didn't explain who she was, not yet. She simply asked to review some internal documents, routine, simple. But the reaction she got wasn't routine at all. The teller hesitated, eyes narrowed. Then came the look, the kind Maya had seen her entire life. Doubt, suspicion, judgment. "I'm sorry," the teller said, her voice tightening. "Those files aren't for public access." Public. The word lingered in the air longer than it should have. Maya felt it, but she stayed calm. "I understand," she replied evenly. "Could you call your manager?" That's when things shifted. The whispering started. Another employee leaned over, a glance in Maya's direction. Then another. Within seconds, the quiet murmur turned into a low ripple of attention spreading across the floor. The manager arrived, but instead of professionalism, there was tension in his posture. His eyes scanned Maya, not with recognition, but with suspicion. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, already sounding defensive. Maya repeated her request, still composed, still patient, but the manager didn't listen. Instead, he folded his arms. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the counter." A pause. The words didn't make sense. Not here. Not to her. "I'm simply asking," she began. "Step away," he repeated, louder this time, firmer. Now people were staring openly. Phones started to come out. The air grew heavier. Maya's heartbeat slowed, not from fear, but from something deeper, something familiar. She had seen this before. Different place. Same look, same assumption. And then it escalated. Security was called. 2 guards approached, their presence immediate, overwhelming. They didn't ask questions. They didn't hesitate. To them, she was already the problem. "Ma'am, you need to leave, now." Leave? For a moment, everything stood still. This bank, her bank, was removing her like she didn't belong, like she was a threat, like she was nothing. A few people watched in silence. Others recorded. No one stepped in. Maya looked around slowly, taking it all in. Every face, every expression, every moment of quiet acceptance. And that's when something inside her shifted. She reached into her bag. Not in panic, not in anger, but with purpose. Because what she was about to reveal was going to change everything. And no one in that room saw it coming. The room went silent. Every movement slowed as Maya pulled a single card from her bag, small, unremarkable. but powerful. She held it up, steady, her eyes locked on the manager who had just ordered her out. "I think you should look at this," she said quietly. He barely glanced at it at first, annoyed, dismissive, but then his expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief, then something deeper. His face drained of color as his eyes moved back to her, searching for something he had completely missed just moments ago. "This isn't possible," he muttered under his breath. But it was. The name on that card wasn't just a name, it was authority, ownership, power, the very foundation of everything around them. A ripple spread through the room. The teller leaned forward, trying to see. One of the security guards stepped closer, uncertainty replacing confidence. Phones that had been recording moments of humiliation were now capturing something else entirely. The truth. Maya didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "I asked for respect," she said, calm but unshakable. "Not permission." The words hit harder than anything else. The manager stumbled back a step, his authority collapsing in real time. The same employees who had watched in silence now avoided eye contact. The same guards who had been ready to remove her now stood frozen, unsure, exposed. Because in a matter of seconds, everything had flipped. The woman they tried to throw out owned the ground they were standing on. And the realization didn't just bring embarrassment, it brought something far worse: consequences. Maya took one slow step forward, her presence now undeniable. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and everyone in that room could feel it. But this moment wasn't just about proving who she was. It was about exposing who they were. And what she decided to do next would determine everything. She didn't shout. She didn't humiliate them back. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She stayed, right there, calm, unmoved. And then she asked for every name, every employee involved, every decision made in those few minutes, every moment that turned assumption into action. By the end of that day, everything changed. Internal investigations were launched. Policies were rewritten. People who once acted without consequence were finally held accountable. But for Maya, the victory didn't feel the way people might expect. Because the truth is, she had won long before she walked into that bank. And yet, she still had to prove she belonged. That was the real cost. What happened to Maya wasn't just one moment of discrimination. It was a reflection of something deeper. A system where appearance can outweigh identity, where power can be ignored, where respect is still conditional. She walked out of that bank with her head high, but not untouched. Because moments like that don't disappear. They stay with you. They remind you. And they raise a question. We can't keep ignoring how many more people have to prove who they are, just to be treated like they matter.